Night sweats. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Friday, September 12th, 2025. And I'd like to believe that Jerry Jones had night sweats after watching Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers absolutely make the Commanders look like the Giants. Now, I don't know for sure whether Jerry Jones has night sweats. Speaking as someone who does have night sweats, combined with the occasional night terror, waking up screaming in a pile of your own sweat, it stinks. I mean, it does stink. If you could smell, it would be smelly. Stinks meaning unpleasant, somewhat scary, disconcerting, thinking to yourself, wait a minute, am I wetting the bed? And then realizing, no, you just traded Micah Parsons and made the Packers the best team in the NFL. I don't want to say that Jerry Jones is judging this trade after 2 games. I am not going to be the one that's going to say that all of a sudden Micah Parsons is the difference, where now the Packers are the team in the NFC with the best odds to win the Super Bowl. Clearly, the best odds to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. I am not going to be the one to say that Jerry Jones handed a pile of unbelievable cheddar right into the hands of all the great people of Wisconsin. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be the one who says that Jerry Jones sits there watching the game last night, wondering to himself, who do I possibly call? And then he picks up the phone and he dials his burner phone. Yes, of course, he has a burner phone. He picks up and he dials, like 976-1313. And guess what? He feels in his right pocket the little vibration. He has 2 phones in his hand and he says, Jerry, you're the worst GM I've ever seen. Screw that. You're the worst owner I've ever seen. How could you not talk to the agent and get a deal done with a guy who didn't want to leave? And on top of that, you approved a trade to an NFC team? What is wrong with you? I'm trying to picture what that would be like. It would be a made-for-TV movie. I mean, there's plenty of Beautiful Mind type movies out there, though Beautiful Mind is not Russell Crowe talking to himself. What a great movie that was. Kudos to Ron Howard. But there's plenty, like Fight Club. Spoiler alert, that's a good one. Coca, don't even. Do not whisper that. I'm not. No. It is absolutely within my right, episode number 1355, to tell you and spoil Fight Club. Give me a break. Just saying that Jerry Jones. You know what? I got a better one. 4869. Night sweats. That's the nothing personal word of the day for Friday, September 12th, 2025. And night sweats is the opposite of what Jerry Jones had watching the Green Bay Packers dismantle the Washington Commanders last night, 27-18. The reason why Jerry Jones wouldn't have night sweats about the game is that he didn't watch the game. Because when you've traded a player like Micah Parsons, the last thing you want to do is watch Micah Parsons be the difference in a defense that held its opponent to 250 yards or fewer the first 2 games of the season. And the Packers hadn't done that in 30 years. Any stat that is 30-year related is a stat that Jerry Jones stays away from. Why? That's roughly the amount of time it's been since he's won anything. It's like a triggering number. For me, it's a triggering number because I say, wow, 30 years ago, I was Coca's age. No, I'm just kidding. I was in my 20s, though. My whole world was in front of me. Now I've only got 3/4 of a world in front of me. It was fine. He's watching that game. Not. Did you see the thing about the Packers and Micah Parsons is he requires a double team, number 1. Number 2, he still gets to the quarterback. Number 3, he makes it so Daniels, the quarterback for the Commanders, is rushing, therefore not able to do anything downfield the way Jordan Love, in contrast, he's got time. He can have a little tea, a little crumpet, something waiting for his receivers to get downfield. It really is shocking. when you see a team get 230 yards in total offense and you think to yourself, wow, I think getting 3 points may not have been enough. Do you know the last time Jaden Daniels had 230 yards of offense? That's right, never. This would be the first time he's had that few offensive yards. It was offensive. Do you think Jerry Jones was sitting there looking and saying, oh, I can't wait, get me to week 4 because the GM of my team, myself, the GM of my team, I've been scouting. Maybe Jerry Jones, the GM, watched the game, but Jerry Jones, the owner, didn't. Now we're talking funny. Jerry Jones, the GM, is watching, devising schemes, how they're going to stop Micah because we know his tendencies. We know, does he like going left, right, center, up, down, sideways? We're going to give our guy Dak plenty of room to take shots down the field. Oh, I can't wait. Is it almost week 4? The way the weeks go so fast, week 4 is going to come super quickly. Week 4 may coincide. If it's 2 weeks from September 14th, wow. Do you know what week 4 is, Coca? This is off the top of my head. Having zero information, I believe week 4 is September 28th, which would also be the end of the regular season in baseball. Just put that in your pipe and smoke it. It's all coming right now. Jerry Jones with his night sweats. Do you think the Ravens have night sweats, Coca? Do you, as a Ravens fan, is that how you feel at the moment? Do you feel very happy with the news yesterday? The NFL really did the Ravens a solid, and I was a little surprised by this. The NFL announced that Lamar Jackson will not be disciplined by the NFL for having physical contact with a fan. As you recall what happened when the Ravens were playing the Bills in that unbelievable game on Sunday night, September 7th, there was a fan who used his hands to make contact with the player, and Lamar Jackson did not appreciate that. And Lamar Jackson sort of shooed the fan away the way Lamar Jackson could shoo away a person who's 65 inches with one little flick of the pinky, and he would go, boop, flying right off the cliff. I'm sorry, Coca, that's a shrinking reference. Boop, off the cliff, season 1. Okay, I'm going to move on. Why that was in my head? You'll figure it out. So, Lamar Jackson, I'm thinking the game's ended. The game's ended? Got that? Edit that out, please, Coca. 4869. I'm thinking at the end of the Ravens-Bills game that there's going to be discipline for Lamar Jackson. Because ever since Malice at the Palace, every commissioner has been super clear about one thing. There's a third rail. Do not touch fans. Period. It would be amazing if that rule happened after games as well, before games, when you're not at the field. We would stop so many lawsuits if we could get players not to touch fans. But the only thing we're really going to legislate is what we do during a game or right after a game when you're in uniform. What you want to do on your own time, caveat emptor. But believe me, you ought to be entering way more than you're caveating. So Lamar Jackson comes in contact with the fan. I call up Coca and say, he's going to get suspended. You can't have this. Well, what happens is that NFL did its little investigation, and they were satisfied with the fact that the Ravens general manager gave Lamar Jackson a talking to. Well, if I thought that talking to my players would have avoided league discipline at all times, I probably would have gone to D. Gordon and said, hey, I'm going to give you a talking to about steroids. Should that be enough? Or a player who gets suspended for throwing at someone. Hey, I had a real talking to. I told that player, way to go. You did exactly what we told you to do. And that would be enough. I guess I could sit down with Lamar Jackson and say, good on you. You could have killed the guy. And for what he did pushing you, you had every right. No, I couldn't have said that. I would have gotten in trouble. Is that the NFL's point of view? That because fans were so inappropriate. Now, this fan is banned, as he should be. There's a very simple rule on the back of your ticket. Very simple. The acknowledgement that you sign that you don't know you sign when you get your tickets on an app, it's super simple. If you enter into the game of play, if you have any contact with a player of any kind, you are subject to what is applicable by law in that particular ballpark, the utmost punishment, anywhere from stadium jail to permanent ban to real jail. I mean, we don't want to say prison, but you never know. It is inexcusable what the fan did to Lamar Jackson. However, the players are told, literally told in these words, no matter what someone says to you or does to you, we've got security to take care of it. You do not enter a fracas. You do not enter a fracas. You do not enter a frocus. I do understand that players are very hyped up. They feel protected with their equipment and they want to be respected. I have the utmost understanding for that. I have the utmost agreeance that fans should not put their hands on players. Believe me, I do, Coca. But you can't retaliate. I absolutely understand why Lamar Jackson was forced into a position that must have made some Ravens fans uncomfortable. Because this week he apologized to the fan who touched Lamar first. Smart move. The right move. A suspension-saving move. Lamar Jackson apologized and, quote, he said, just chill next time. You can talk trash and stuff, but keep your hands to yourself. Agreed. Lamar Jackson played this perfectly. What do you do if you're a player like Derrick Henry and you get stuff thrown at you in the end zone? I don't know if you read that yesterday. Derrick Henry was nearly hit with a frozen water bottle in the end zone after he had run for a 29-yard score. Any thoughts on that? Because I have it. It is impossible during my experience of all the games I've been to. I have never been convinced, and I will never be convinced that someone can throw something on the field and not be seen by anybody else. Number one, we've got cameras all over the stadium. In the stadium. Looking at you. Number two, we have cameras aimed at the concession stands all over the stadium, looking at you, sometimes the workers. Number three, there is a rare place in the stadium where you can ever actually be alone. Forget the eye in the sky. Can you explain why the human condition is such that we would not see something and then say something? What part of being a fan thinks it's awesome when someone throws something on the field of play? And it got me thinking about the other times that people watch people do things and do not say anything, and that makes them accomplices. It happens in a sexual assault. You watch someone else doing a sexual assault, guess what? Guilty. You watch someone commit a robbery, guess what? Guilty. You watch someone throw something off an overpass that falls into a windshield that kills a driver, guess what? Guilty. Why do we not have that inside ballparks? If you see someone throw a water bottle, thank you, Coca. If you see someone and you are with that person, you are in any way engaged with that person, I got a better one. How about if you're near that person and we have you on camera looking right at it, and then you just sit on your hands? To me, guilty. I want the burden on the spectators. I want the burden on the people who are with the crazy person who is out of control. I want us to have a better moral compass. I want us to have a belief that we have no choice but to turn in our friend, our lover, our stranger. What is it that we're trying to do? Are we trying to hit the player? Boy, that's really something. When you throw something off an overpass, oh, I'm doing it for fun. Sorry, someone died. Yeah, you missed Derrick Henry. What happens if you hit one of the security guys? What happens if you hit one of the ball boys in the head? Believe me, you're going to prison. I'm frustrated by human behavior. And yes, this is coming on the heels of what happened, the assassination. Yes, this is coming on the heels of all the things that we do, all of them with reckless indifference toward other people in violation of my principle. Say it with me because you know it. Live and let live. You want to be angry with your team, be angry. You can't throw stuff. That's getting in the way of other people. You can't push someone. You don't like Lamar Jackson, do the Samson. Man, did I use my vocal cords when I was unhappy with players on opposing teams playing the Knicks. I used my vocal cords until they were raw. Words that were so biting that they would get reactions. Now you're talking. I am in absolute favor of fans losing their minds. You want to taunt, you want to heckle, you want to boo. I am in like Errol. Do it. Throwing things. Come on, Buffalo. This is not Cleveland. You know what that reference is, Coca, right? People are not upset in Cleveland. To all my friends in Cleveland, you know what I just did. You know that I just did Sam Weish. You know it. Don't deny that. I think the Dolphins have to trade Tyreek Hill. He is just... What exactly is he doing for that team now? Can I have... I'm thinking about it. He doesn't sell tickets. People are not going to Dolphin Stadium. Strike that. People are not going to Land Sharks. Oh, come on, David. People are not going to Pro Player to watch Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins are in a position where I don't know what their odds are, Coca, but I'll bet you their odds to win the Super Bowl fall somewhere below the Eagles at 750, plus 750. I'm going to say the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl are the 32nd ranked team, the longest of long shots at plus 10,000. I'm making it up completely. Coca may yell it in my ear, or he may be getting ready for hour two, in which case he's not listening at all. Tyreek Hill is now being investigated by the NFL. Again, the amount of squeeze that is taking place with Tyreek Hill. And what's the juice now? What juice do the Dolphins get? Are they getting performance? I read something recently, Coca. I don't know if you saw this, that he hasn't had a pass reception over 30 yards since blank. And it was enough of a blank that it occurred to me, boy, that seems like a long time. Now, it would be super funny if the answer to that was he hasn't had, and now you know we're live without any sort of document in front of us. It's just me and Coca coming to you live on the DraftKings Network, live on YouTube. Hit subscribe on YouTube, please. You can do it. We can catch Pablo. Let's find out whether we can. Just hit subscribe. I know you're watching. I know you're listening. It is very possible that you're new to the show and you don't know that we have no prompters. This is us every day, 5 days a week, 7 a.m. live on YouTube. Then we're on the DraftKings Network. We're a 2-hour podcast that you can get wherever you get your podcasts, split into 2 hours. This is what we do every day. I read something all day. That's all I do. I read and I try to remember a few nuggets that I can impart as I think about what stories. And I read somewhere that Tyreek Hill does not have a reception of more than 30 yards. And then I went blank. Is it since yesterday? Is it since week 1 of this season? Or is it like all of last year? Or is it like in the last, since Tua came into the league? I can't recall. It can't be that long. 30 yards for Tyreek Hill. That's supposed to be nothing. But right now, the reason why the NFL is investigating Tyreek Hill has nothing to do with the fact that the Dolphins stink. It has everything to do with the fact that the police keep having to show up where he is because he's involved with domestic disturbances way too often. I'm not talking about a one-off thing here. I'm talking about the reality that if you go back and look at the number of times that he has had issues with his significant other, with his wife, with another woman, it would strike you that, wow, one time, there may be a situation where there was a fight that just went wrong, out of control. Anyone who's married or been married can say, I get that, even though I don't get that at all. As angry as I've ever been, putting your hands on your wife or having your wife put her hands, it's preposterous. Maybe the Dolphins are loving the distraction of the fact that Tyreek Hill is getting investigated by the NFL so people can ignore the fact that they absolutely stink or that they're in full panic mode and that Mike McDaniel is coaching for his job in week 2. Is that possible? That Chris Greer is GMing for his job in week 2? Is that possible? Well, they did not do themselves any favors by having a players-only meeting after their loss to the Colts 33-8. It's too early. I'm a big fan of the players-only meeting. I like it at the right time. I like it as a way to get the team together. I think it's important to feel the power as a player, get the coaching staff out of there, get the president, the GM, get them all out of there, and then sit down and look yourselves in the mirror and say, wow, this collection of players stinks. Do you think that's what a bad team ever does? Do you think that it's only a good team that has a players meeting that looks at themselves and says, man, we're so good, we're playing so badly, we have to meet? Or is there a meeting because a bad team is playing badly and they're really bad because they're bad? And do they look at each other in a players only meeting and shrug their shoulders and say, man, what are we supposed to do? This collection of talent is ass. God, that would be a funny players-only meeting if they come out of that and they talk to the meeting. They say, hey, we looked at each other, we smiled and said, yeah, we're about a 2-15 team. Have a good season. That would be a funny players-only meeting. It would be the only one of the year, that's for sure. I have a feeling that's not what this one was about. I have a feeling the Dolphins feel like they're at least a 10-7 team that should be in the conversation for making the playoffs in the AFC. I mean, delusion's delusion. You can have it until you lose your 8th game, and then you're not ever going to be 10-7. I like the fact that Tua is trying to take charge. I got the offense together, and we had a meeting about things that we wanted to do to hang our hats on this week, points of emphasis, and how we want to go about it this week. I always enjoy player quotes like this. Because if they had won the game against the Colts, would you agree that the way they went about it was the right way? The fact that they lost to the Colts, does that definitionally mean that the way they went about it was wrong and has to change? I don't have a great answer for that. What if you have a great approach against a slider, against a particular pitcher, and it just didn't work out? I don't want to change the way you prepared. I don't want to change the way you went about your business. I can't wait for the result to change. It's a math game. Eventually the results will change. But if you keep changing the preparation, then you're subject to the math really screwing you, where you keep getting the same result with using a different approach. That's when you have to say to yourself, this players only team meeting may be to look at ourselves and say we're not good. I don't know. I just don't exactly know what they're going to get out of the team meeting. But there was a lot of communication, the players said after, so that's good. Jordan Brooks said the meeting was just kind of making sure that everybody's together. Let me stop right there. Jordan, what does that mean? I've never been in a clubhouse or in a locker room where everybody's together. I promise you there is not a football team where everybody's together. Too many people. You can't get in a room with your own significant other and say that everybody's together. Forget like 5 people or 20 or 50 or 70, but I digress. Let's pretend that the meeting was had with the Dolphins, players only, and somehow everything's and everybody's together. Did they take a poll? How would they discover whether everyone's together? Did they ask a question? Hey, what's 2 + 2? Can we get a show of hands of those who think it's 4? Wow, we are together. I like it. Jordan Brooks kept going, though. When you lose like that, it's easy for people to get discouraged, start looking, questioning maybe yourself or others. So making sure we're all locked back in, making sure that the belief is still there. Bingo. Thank you, Jordan Brooks, for making this segment exactly what it was meant to be, because now we know where you are, Dolphins. Now we know that for whatever reason, you all believe, in which case your players only meeting was not looking around saying, oh, we stink. No, it was looking around saying, we can't play like that again if we're going to win 10 games. I don't see how the Dolphins win 10 games. That's number one. I don't see how the Dolphins don't trade Tyreek Hill. As a matter of fact, Coca, they're going to trade Tyreek Hill. I'm happy to give you a wait to see that the Dolphins are going to trade Tyreek Hill, because someone's going to want that pile of trouble and non-30-yard receptions. Someone's going to think that he can be the difference with his lightning speed and his lightning personality and his lightning attraction to trouble. Someone's going to say, I can harness that. Who's the team? I'm trying to think of a team that's always willing to take players, no matter what the distraction is, no matter what the problem is, no matter what their point of view is in relationships. The Chiefs? No. Yes. Let's make that an official wait to see, Coca. When we tell you something's going to happen, if it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. We keep a list at davidsamsonpodcast.com. Go look at that website on your secondary device right now, davidsamsonpodcast.com. Go to the little colored dashes, click it, and you're going to see a drop-down menu that will include something that says Tracking Doc. Somebody DM'd me yesterday, Coca, thanking me because this time of year is when everyone's making football picks and doing stuff with no accountability. We've got every pick of the day that we've done through the entirety of this show, back to 2019. We have every wait to see. We have every movie that we've ever reviewed. It's all there at davidsamsonpodcast.com, and it's all open to the public for you to see. It's the exact working document that we use, and Coca updates every day with our new picks and whatever movie we've reviewed and wait to sees, etc. So official wait to see, Coca. Tyreek Hill will be traded by the Dolphins before the end of the season. Book it. Well, today's Friday, which means we're closer to Tuesday, which means we're a day shy of Wednesday, which is when our next So You Want to Talk to Samson episode is going to be. I want to bring up that number, Coca, on YouTube, on DraftKings. It is a number that is 631. That's the area code. 377-4869. Do you like the proviso? Charges may apply. Well, if you are still paying per phone call, there are phone plans out there where it's unlimited calling. But I don't want to get into your business. So if you would like to reach me and leave a voicemail because you want to talk to Samson and you want to be in the show on Wednesdays in the second hour, call 631-377-4869. Leave a message. You may make the show. Speaking of the document, let's add a movie to our list of movies reviewed. It's time for the review. I told you I'd watch a movie yesterday, and I did. It was a busy day. A lot going on with the new Pablo Torre Finds Out. A lot of people reaching out, asking questions, getting details, wanting to know whether we'd talk more about Kawhi Leonard today. And so my answer was Kawhi Leonard, Jerry Jones, LeBron James. Of course I watched a movie. Margaret Qualley is quietly becoming a serious actress. She is Andie MacDowell's daughter. You may remember her from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You may remember her from Maid. She has done a bunch of things. You may remember her from the movie with Demi Moore called, maybe it was called The Substance, but I'm blanking, Coca. This is a totally different type of movie. Honey Don't is about a private investigator played by Margaret Qualley who's got this confidence about her. She's got this look, obvious beauty, but there's something about her shoes and heels clacking. There's something about her presence, her wit that she is trying to figure out why something bad happened to someone and comes across someone named Aubrey Plaza who plays a police officer, sort of. And it turns into this crazy thriller like Thelma and Louise meets Batman meets 9.5 Weeks with a little tiny bit of Love the Coopers. You know what? That makes a movie worth watching to me. I really did enjoy it. Now, there's some stuff that happens in this movie that you're going to say to yourself, wow, interesting, I'm in. Or you may say, ooh, I'm out. Or you may say, it's not the worst thing I've seen this week. Honey, don't. Honey, don't. Do you get it? Honey, do. Honey, don't. You will. Big weekend this weekend, Coca. B-I-triple-G. Week 2 of the NFL. Great MLB games. I promise, and I'm committed. I'm going to say, I don't know, 1 a.m. tonight, because it's a weekend, and I don't have a show tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. live on Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube. I think I'm going to dial it in at 1 a.m. and go straight through. I'm going to watch We Were Liars. One of you told me to watch it, and that had nothing to do with anything regarding careers or relationships. None of it. It's a show called We Were Liars, and I think it's about 6 hours start to finish. I'll let you know. I'm going to review it Monday. Nothing personal pick of the day. Nothing personal pick of the day presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Friday night, September 12th, a big series starts at Fenway Park as the New York Yankees, fresh from their win over the Detroit Tigers in front of President Trump, got on a plane and went north and find themselves going into Fenway in a critical series which could decide where the wild card 2 out of 3 will be played come the end of this season, which is only weeks away. You see, it is very likely that the Red Sox and the Yankees will be facing each other in the first round in a 2 out of 3, which is played all in one stadium, no traveling. If the Yankees finish ahead of the Red Sox, they would play at Yankee Stadium. If the Red Sox finish ahead of the Yankees, they would be back playing at Fenway. Critical weekend series that starts with Lucas Giolito going for the Red Sox, who is plus 101 against the Yankees. Giolito has been a critical number 2 starter for the Red Sox this season behind Crochet. When you have a 3-game series against your rival, and we say Red Sox Yankees are always the rival, but this year, especially given the playoff format, this becomes more critical than the usual Sunday night game. You got to get game 1 of the series. You do not want to be in a position where you lose 3 games in the standing. If you get game 1, you know the worst that you will do is lose 2 out of 3 and lose 1 game in the standings. You lose game 1, you're thinking to yourself, yikes, the best I can do is gain a game. The worst I can do is get swept and lose 3 games. Game 1 critical, and Giolito, maybe the best pitcher on either team. Yes, apologies to Max Fried, maybe. And he's plus 101. The Nothing Personal Pick of the Day presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours, is the Red Sox and Giolito plus 101, odds subject to change, over the New York Yankees tonight in Fenway. But we're not done. We got other picks. I am so livid, Coca, that I have to take the Mets on Saturday. Livid. But Corbin Day is Corbin Day. And when we make a commitment, we make a commitment till death do us part, unless it's sooner than that. Corbin Day. The Rangers are playing the Mets, and the Mets, they stink. They just got swept by the Phillies. Yeah, I know we had the Mets last night in our pick of the day. I know the Mets were underdogs to Luzardo. I know Peterson's the best pitcher, and he was up 4-0, and the Mets couldn't hold it and lost 6-4. I know the Mets are 11 games back of the Phillies. You don't have to tell me that the Mets have a 1.5 game cushion over the Reds and Giants. I don't need to hear it. You think Steve Cohen isn't paying attention? You think I'm happy the fact that the Mets have lost 6 in a row and now they're playing the Rangers, who have a chance to actually catch the Mariners or the Astros? You don't think I'm paying attention to the fact that I got to take the Mets over Corbin? And the Rangers are looking at their rotation with DeGrom going tonight and saying, hey, DeGrom wins tonight against the Mets. We got Corbin. If we can just get Corbin with a victory, we could sweep and go back-to-back sweepers against the Brewers and then the Mets. You don't think I'm paying attention to that? Of course I am. Despondent. But I am anything but. I'm a committed guy. I'm a committed guy, despite evidence to the contrary. So we're taking Corbin and the Mets. Mets over Rangers Saturday. Sunday's a great game. Sunday, I got to tell you this football game. Can you imagine Dallas being favored by 4.5 points over the Giants? Let me get this straight. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, Micah or no Micah, are only favored by 4.5 points over the Russell Wilson-led Giants, who could get benched by halftime for Jackson throwing darts. I think it's totally possible. That line seems super wrong to me. Jerry Jones is going to his team and saying, listen, you think we want to be 0-2? Do you know how many teams win the Super Bowl after going 0-2? Let me tell you. Hold on. Let me wait for it. The Giants did it once. Anyone else? 2 other teams. That's it. If you're 0-2, you're done, which is depressing. But it's like in baseball, going 0-20 to start the season. The odds are you're not going to make the playoffs. Forget winning the World Series. Happened with the Braves this year. They went 0 out of their first 7 in a row, and nobody ever recovers from that. And it turns out the Braves didn't. So for Dallas, this is an elimination game. It's sort of how I feel, Coke, about your Ravens team. It's an elimination game for them, too. It's sort of how I feel about the Chiefs. It's an elimination game for them, too. Chiefs, Ravens, Cowboys, all 0-1. You don't want to get to 0-2. I'm definitely laying the points. Dallas minus 4.5 over the Giants. The Cowboys are my survivor pool pick as well. That's how I'm sure of this game. Last night's game did not work out for me, either one. The Mets stink. The Commanders getting 3 wasn't enough. I needed the Commanders to be getting 10. I don't understand how they could not figure out dealing with Micah Parsons, giving Daniels another second to do something. We talked about it earlier in the show. It was incredibly frustrating. The Commanders did not cover, and I love my Packers. I wanted the Packers to win like by 2. So we are 123 and 118 going into our weekend picks. That's the nothing personal pick of the day. Do you know what's funny about the Cowboys-Giants game that I'm going to watch for sure? Because I have Sunday ticket. And so does Coca. Update, so does Coca. Dak Prescott doesn't lose to the Giants, ever. Coca just whispered in my ear that it's been 3,199 days. That's under 10 years, but not by much. 3,199 days since he last lost to the Giants. That's sort of cool. It's sort of interesting to think that we're only 3,200 days away from when Obama was president, which seems like 10 years ago, or when Patrick Mahomes was in college, which seems like, I don't know, like 10 years ago. That's crazy. That's crazy talk, Coca. Did I just jinx myself? I hope not. A labrum tear is bad. Can we just all agree that when you tear your labrum in your shoulder, it stinks, you lose range of motion, you're in pain all the time? Now, can we agree that when you're a pitcher and you tear your labrum, that you can't pitch and that there's a high likelihood that you're going to miss a significant amount of time, like a year? Can we all agree with that? I think we can. Can you agree that when a position player has a labrum tear, that it's suboptimal, but there are certain positions where you can play through a labrum tear? Maybe playing second base, maybe. No deep throws at shortstop because the labrum tear would just hurt like the Charles Dickens if you had to make that throw from deep in the hole, especially when you can't set your legs. Found out yesterday that Anthony Volpe has a bit of a labrum tear, and I smiled. It's a small tear, apparently, and this we got in violation of all HIPAA agreements from Aaron Boone himself. I'd like to believe that Booney spoke to Volpe and said, hey, I'm going to be talking about your labrum tear because it's our best chance to get people to understand why you can't hit your weight and you're thin. It's our best chance to get people to understand why you can't field your position. This is our best chance to make Brian Cashman and his group not look like they've been holding on to something in the most irrational way possible. This is our moment. So Boone comes out and says, yeah, we actually discovered a small tear in his labrum in May. That's so great. It's September, dude. The small tear was first discovered in May after he felt a boop in his shoulder. The reason I'm laughing is he's been so bad that why now? I'm just curious. Why not wait till the end of the season? You only have 2 weeks left. It's not like he's going to get better. By the way, you're barely playing him anymore, finally. But in order to save the embarrassment of the player and you, the evaluator, you go with he's had a small tear since May. Oy vey. That does not help you. Then we got clarification. Still from Booney. He aggravated it. That's what you do. Do you know when a player has a shoulder issue? We had a player, Hanley Ramirez, had a shoulder issue, and we said, hey, do us a favor. Don't dive for balls in the hole. Don't dive for fly balls that are out in the short left field or center field area. Just let them drop. If it's a ground ball that you have to dive for to your right or to your left, frankly, do yourself a favor, let it go. It's a base hit. We're going to be fine. Because the problem is we like your bat in the lineup. Hanley Ramirez, that is, not Anthony Volpe. So if you dive and hurt your shoulder, then you're not going to be in the lineup. We'd rather give up a hit than give up all the hits and home runs that you get. And he said, but Poppy, it's instinct. I said, okay, I hear you, but there is one way to change instinct, and that is the amount of pain you're always in when your shoulder pops out. So why don't you think about that when the ball's on the ground off the bat? Now, we would talk about this. We would talk to the media about it. We wouldn't tell the media what we told Hanley about diving. We would not confirm that if asked. What is it do you think the Yankees have been telling Volpe? Do you think they've been telling Volpe, hey, don't dive. Don't do anything that could possibly aggravate your tear? Or do they say, just play your game because you're doing so well. We just want you to keep being you. It's been working like a charm. Well, last night, Volpe did not start. President Trump went to the game. He met the Yankees, went into the Yankees clubhouse before the game started, and he had some very funny words that said, you're going to win today. Today's your day. Today's the day you start, and let's take it all the way. And it was pretty motivating because the Yankees crushed. Now, there's something else that happened during the game that is not entirely relevant to the Yankees crushing or Trump being there. It's that Aaron Judge and Stanton went deep. We want to remind you that in any game that Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run, the Yankees are going to win. They can ride that baby all the way through October if you get Judge and Stanton hot at the same time. The Yankees are 49-7, including playoffs, when those two guys homer in the same game. That is good, for those of you not paying attention. Now, when the Yankees get home runs, I don't know why we didn't realize that Judge would hit a home run. He hit his 45th last night. Get it? 45th, Trump. Then he hit his 46th. And I would have been able to bet that he would have hit his 47th. 3 home runs in the game is hard, but that would have been quite something for him to get 45, 46, and 47 right at the game where Trump was playing. A lot of attention, though, is being brought to Trump's visit to the clubhouse. and then players who were not in the team photo that was taken with Trump, as though was that some sort of statement against Trump. I will tell you that there are many reasons why players miss a team photo like that. They may be in the training room. They may be out doing stuff on the field. They may be unwilling to be in the photo. There is no way to actually know without asking the player directly as a team president and trying to get an actual answer. Is it possible that Bellinger and Stan did not want to be in the photo with Trump? Yeah. It's also just as possible that they were in the training room and they were getting stim help. They were attached to a machine and they did not want to interrupt their program because they have a pregame routine. It's possible they were sleeping in the training room. Anyone not in that photo. It's possible, depending on what time it was taken, that there were players that hadn't arrived yet, though everybody was in uniform, and it probably was after BP, close to game time, in which case you don't have the excuse that you weren't there. But I could easily explain not being in a photo like that. When we do team photos, and I was thinking back to a team photo we did with Ichiro after his 3,000th hit, which is this post-game sort of get everyone together team photo, you do not get full participation. There's a guy in the food room. There's a guy in the shower. When we do team photos that are for the record books, which are done in September mostly, and they're the official team photos for a team that season, we actually have an attendance sheet. We make sure that every player's there, but even then, there are players who blow off the team photo, like that day's starting pitcher and potentially someone who just isn't at the ballpark yet. So I would encourage all of you not to read too much into what you will see about who was or who was not in that photo with Trump. I would encourage all of you not to associate every player or staff member with either being Republican or Democrat. It is very possible that when a president comes into the clubhouse, no matter how vehemently you disagree or agree with that president's policies, it's the respect of the office, the respect of the president. I think that's what happened. It's your season. It's your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props, or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. It's Giants-Cowboys weekend, Dallas home opener, Jerry World. No Micah Parsons. Both teams are looking for their first wins, and Dak and the Cowboys are favored by 4.5 points. Lines and odds subject to change. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Samson. That's code SAMSON to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. All of this in partnership with DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is Friday, September 12th, 2025, hour two. I hope by now you've associated Friday hour two with Matthew Coca. Our esteemed producer has been with us since day one. He is Nothing Personal along with me, and he joins us to talk about all the things that are pissing him off. No, I'm just kidding. Coca, join me, please. There he is.
I have a question. Why every time that there's like this simple sort of explanation or something, like a guy throws a water bottle on the field, why do you always have to bring your analogies to like somewhere that it shouldn't be? Like you brought in like assault and dude, it's a water bottle. Like, can't we just
Coca,
keep it
you're
at
on the
a
wrong
water
side
bottle?
of this. No, we cannot. I would tell you that I appreciate you bringing that up, but that is actually definitionally assault. You are not allowed to do that. Now,
Yeah, but that's
by the way, a
yeah, but
frozen water bottle,
dude,
can
it's
kill
a
somebody.
it's a fan throwing a water bottle. You can just say, hey, don't do that. But for you, you were like, oh, if you see somebody about to press the nuclear launch button and you don't say anything, it's like, dude, no one's in that situation. Like, where are people witnessing these assaults where you're like, oh, if you see a sexual assault taking place, like
There's a whole movie about that, The Accused.
Yeah, but okay, but like, dude, it's a water bottle.
I'm
You
gonna
can just say, hey,
let
if
you
you see
keep
somebody
going,
throw a
Coca,
water
but
bottle,
I
tell
would
security.
like you to not, because I worry about you a little bit, because I understand your point of view, but it's a very, very bad take in my opinion. But I love that's why you get to do this hour.
Listen. If you see a crime, sure, call it in. But dude, we're talking about a water bottle. Like, it's not. You shouldn't be taking things to places that are not as serious as those things. So it's just like I just think that some of these analogies you just have to chill with. You just have to chill.
I appreciate your view, and I want to make sure that we're very clear. The views that are currently being expressed by Matthew Coca are not shared by anyone else currently on the show, which means me.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, when you're saying something like that, like, who exactly are you talking to? Because I think
anybody
people,
who sees
but
anything
it's just
bad.
like, yeah, but I just think that people understood that, like, if you see a crime being committed, sure, call something.
Throwing
call
a frozen
somebody.
water bottle is a crime. Water bottle is a
Dude,
crime.
but it's dude, it's a crime to you. But like,
no,
dude,
no.
they're not. No,
Coca,
it is.
It's a crime.
It is a crime
in the penal code.
Okay, did that Bills fan get arrested? Is he in jail? Is he being persecuted?
Certainly would have liked to have persecuted.
Yeah, but once again, you're.
Let's move on, Coca. We don't have a lot of time. There's so many things to cover.
Just admit that you sometimes
Coca,
take
you're
analogies
on the wrong side
to place. You're maybe, but once again, I see.
I love you for this.
I see live comments, so I sort of understand when people are on my.
I like when you do this.
Are on my side with it. Yeah,
I like when you say that the people in the chat, those are the people. You're right. I love our audience who's in the chat, who's so devoted and dedicated to us every day. Believe me, I'm as addicted to them as they are to us, and I love them for that. However, I don't use me or them. I don't think any of us are actually the moral arbiters. What I can do is give you the penal code provisions.
Nice.
You cannot throw a frozen water bottle. It is a violation. That said, there are certain things that happen at games that aren't crimes. By the way, you think it's okay to push Lamar Jackson, your guy?
No, you said it. You did this whole thing about Lamar, and you just did not bring up to start that a fan slapped him in the head. So once again, you
did.
No, but you did a whole thing about Lamar first. So it's just like you should be the one telling people you think, oh, see a crime. How about we keep our hands to ourselves? Wouldn't that just be better off? But no, you did this whole thing about the player. When it's like, dude, fans, stop reaching over. Stop smacking people in the helmet. Like, who do you think you are to push a guy in the helmet? And he didn't push one person. He slapped two people in the helmet.
I must
over
be
this.
delusional
So it's just like,
and tired, Coca. Are you saying both things that chill out, it's okay to throw a water bottle, but do not push Lamar Jackson?
No, I'm just not.
That?
No, because I'm not gonna compare what that fan did to murder. And it's just like that,
the penal code does not compare it to murder, actually. So to the extent that I was wrong, let me correct myself. Throwing a water bottle The only time that that would be a manslaughter charge is if the water bottle hits someone in the head and they do have some sort of issue with their skull that it normally wouldn't kill someone, but in this case it did. That still would be manslaughter. But I digress. Go ahead.
Dude. Do you know what all your friends do for work? Like, do you know every single one of your friends' professions?
I
Have you known all
believe
your
I
friends' professions?
That's funny. If I were to be asked that question, every person who is a friend, even I know a lot of acquaintances what they do for work. So I would say an actual friend, there is not one friend I have and I do not know what they do for work.
That's funny because I have a lot like my high school friends, they're all still my best friends and we have like a huge group. And it's like if you're not in like the category of like cop, none of us knew what each other did. So like people know what I do because it's very public, right? And I get them to watch the show, so they essentially know. But like the other day, we went through a list of just saying like, okay, what is your job title? What do you do? Because none of us knew what each other did. Like we've
Now,
never asked
title's
that question
different.
before. But I'm just saying we've never asked that question before about like what do you do for work?
That's really funny because when you're watching a football game and with your friend and someone says, "Hey, I got to take a call," like a work call, do
Hmm.
you just never say, "Oh, what was that about?" or "How's everything at work today?" That doesn't come up in conversation.
I don't think I've ever had a like how was work today, conversation with the boys at the bar. Because I mean we all give the same answer, right? It was all right. It was
Is
fine.
that your answer when someone says, "Hey, how was your day today?" Do you just say it was all right?
Yeah, I'm just saying it was a day. I'm a dude. It was a day.
I've
We had
got
a
close
day.
friends, Coca, and I don't know. We didn't know whether they had siblings or couldn't name their kids. That to me is more normal than not knowing what they do for a living. But that may be very telling and personal to me, where I'm more work centric than anything else. Where, of course, I would know what people do for a living, but I wouldn't know, like, oh, do you have a brother? That's funny. I'm going to
Mm.
take a poll right now of friends, and it'll be a quick poll. 3 friends, 3 calls. Do you know what your friends do for a living?
Have
I
you
think
have you
everyone's going to
trimmed
say
down
yes.
have you trimmed down your list of friends to who's like who what person would you go to their funeral, like that game that you play? Because that's what chat's saying is like, about that funeral game. They brought it up. So I just want to know, like, have you trimmed down your list to be like, okay, I will call these people friends because those are the people whose funerals that I would go to. Like, is that where you're at? Is that the line?
That's funny. No, because I would go to funerals of some people who are not what I would consider friends. I'm not friends with Bud Selig, but Bud
Mm.
Selig is a acquaintance. Bud Selig is someone I respect and I love. And when he dies, if I outlive him, he's 91, and listen, who knows? I would go to his funeral, but I wouldn't say like he's on my list of friends. I don't have a lot of friends. Like you always shock me with your group of what do you always tell me is like 25 friends in one group?
Yeah, there's like
Like
20 of us, around
that's
20 of us.
insane. Like
Yeah, I
I don't know
mean,
how you keep and there's no cliques within the 20.
no, there definitely are. Like I think everybody has like their own clique just because there's so many people. So, we don't get like 20 people, going out at once all the time. Like if there's like weddings, then all of us are showing up. But like if it's like like a weekend at a bar, like a lot of them are married, have kids, so they don't come all the time. But there are other people who are just like, there's like 5 or 6 of us who, will hit the bar on like Saturday, watch college football games. But yeah, there is a lot, and I know that we're unique in that sense. But like
Did it
we've been
start bigger or is it literally the same size from when you left college?
well, this is earlier than that. Like this is like grade school friends.
You got 20 grade school friends?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
20. And has the
Hmm.
group always been the same 20? No additions, no subtractions.
No, there's been like a subtraction and an addition, but it's normally just just stayed the same. Yeah, we're
That
weird,
is
man.
remarkable. No, I don't
Yeah.
have that. I do have friends from high school. I have friends from college. I have friends from law school. I have friends from Morgan Stanley. I have friends from News Travels Fast. I have friends from the Expos, and I have friends from the Marlins, and I have friends from CBS and DraftKings, Nothing Personal, Meadowlark. So I would say that I've got people I know from every step of my life, but a group of 20 like that, I do not have. That seems too large, to manage.
So going back to that first conversation that we had to start the hour, like, would that warning be enough to get me fired? And I bring that up because of what happened to that Carolina Panthers staffer who was fired because of things that he said after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So he posted some things online. The company did not agree with the things that he said, and the Panthers got rid of him. So what is sort of your stance on how your employees post? Like, does everything come down to a reflection of the company? Like, is it as simple as a reflection of the company? And what is that line? Who is the judge, jury, and executioner of where the line is drawn on what can be said and what can't be said?
Let's talk about that, because what happened with Carolina, and it happened I think we saw it 3 different times yesterday, where somebody did a social media post about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, something that was less than sensitive to what happened, and they lost their jobs. There's certain third rail things that you cannot do. I had a different sort of rail, you remember. You wear a Red Sox jersey to a game against the Marlins, you're being fired if you work for the Marlins. Hard stop. I've told you, you can't work for Coke and walk around at a bar and order Pepsi. I've told you that lawyers who have Miller as a client do not go to a bar and order Budweiser. They just don't. However, that's work. That's brand affiliation. That is brand loyalty. Very different than condoning assassination. You've got to understand what your limits are as a company, and you talk about it early. You go through drills in your mind about what it would take, what is your scenario, because you have to deal with it all the time. If someone comes out anti-Trump, pro-Trump, are we allowed to say, could you not put any political on your social media? We could, but I wouldn't. But you come out and you say that you are anti-gay. That would be a third rail for me. You come out and say that you are something that shows that you're prejudiced, that shows that you are full of hate or spite. You're going to lose your job, because I get to say the thoughts and opinions expressed do not reflect the company, which is what the Panthers had to say yesterday. But you can't keep that employee around. When you're used to saying the thoughts and opinions expressed in the show are not necessarily a reflection of the company. It's what Pablo does when he's talking about Kawhi Leonard. And he says, hey, what I'm saying here, it's not what The Athletic is saying. It's not what the New York Times is saying. It's not what Meadowlark Media is saying. This is what I'm saying. And you know what? Pablo may be right, which he is. He may be wrong, which he's not. But it is a right or a wrong that is not about moral turpitude. It's not about hatred or prejudice or murder. Totally different. And what happened when they fired this employee, what the Panthers did, I could not possibly be in more favor of that, because the more we normalize the type of posts that approve or don't understand the significance of the assassination, the worse off our society is.
If these employees were unionized, how much harder is it to get rid of somebody because of what they post on social media? Because the team comes out and they say, we do not condone violence of any kind. And then you have a player who's arrested for or charged with or accused of domestic assault or something like that. And then, like 3 weeks later, that player is back on the field. So to me, it's just like, it's hard for me to sort of grasp the way in which this works, that a post on social media is worse than, physical harm to somebody else. But is it, I've never been in a union. I really don't know anything about union protections. I don't know anything about anything when it comes to that. So how is
you know a lot about a lot of things.
Yeah, but just not that. How is that sort of situation handled differently if they were to, be in a union?
Well, let's talk about a union, Coco. What do you think you get? What is the purpose of being in a union? What would be your guess as what are your top 3 reasons to be in a union?
Well, if you're a major league umpire, then it's never being fired, no matter how bad you are at your job. So,
Good one. That's something. So to put it another way, Being in a union is used to protect your job. It's like getting tenure as a teacher or tenure as a professor. Basically, it makes it impossible to fire you. So that's one. What's another thing a union does for you in your mind?
Fights for your wages.
Bingo. That's the number two thing. You have someone, a union leader, you've got an agreement by which your wages are agreed upon, discussed, and negotiated. So it's not a matter of, oh, am I going to get a bonus of $1,000 at the end of the year or not? You know your wages. You know exactly what you're entitled to. And it's really about due process. It means when you're part of a union that there has to be a reason and a season for something to happen that is not contemplated in your collective bargaining agreement. And if it's outside of your agreement, it's still subject to a grievance process that is delineated inside of a collective bargaining agreement. So unions are used to be very protective of people. So you're asking that if a union member would do something that would allow that union member to be terminated, and the answer is yeah. There are clauses in every contract. Every player that we sign has a contract, a morals clause. We'd have to fight with the union about it. And believe me, a union would not fight against us if a player came out and said, I hate Jewish people, as an example. Under the clause that we have, several of them. One of them is you cannot shine a bad light upon our organization. We can terminate your contract. You cannot be a racist. We can terminate your contract. You can't commit a felony. We can terminate your contract. So we would be able to terminate, and then they'd be able to file a grievance. That's what the union gives them, that if you're not in the union, you don't get that protection.
Yeah, so listen, I'm not saying anything about the words in which he used, because I'm always one who's like, if you're going to post something like that, then you have to deal with the consequences of your post. And if that
you think that player knew that, I'm sorry, do you think that employee of the Carolina Panthers knew
that he would be fired for that?
Yes.
Likely
I think
not.
about that all the time.
Likely not. Like, I don't think that's we now live in a society where nobody really thinks before they post. You're thinking about the post in general, but you're not thinking about the reaction to the post. So you throw things up there because you feel some sort of way, and it's like you need to express your own opinion, when it's like, does your opinion in that moment really matter? Most of the time it's not. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't need to be in a public forum like that. Talk to your friends, text your buddies, whatever. But to do something publicly like that, it's just, most people just want to feel like they're a part of the conversation. So I don't think that people are thinking about, I'm going to get fired for posting this. Let me press send.
Let's talk about that.
If they took a beat, maybe.
I got one for you. When you say something in private, would you expect there to be no consequences to those statements? Would that be the hope? If you texted your friends a hateful text full of hate, and that text found its way to me or to Metalark, would your defense be, yeah, that was not, you weren't supposed to see that?
No, but that's what I'm saying, is that's different, right? Like, getting that coming out is different than you just having a conversation with your friends. I'm not talking about like, hey, does that get to that? Because then there's no difference between that and posting something on social media. Because the people who...
That's what I'm getting to. Is there a difference in your mind between posting on social media your view of the Charlie Kirk assassination or texting to your friends?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a big difference between it, because one is you have a sense that what you are saying is private. What you are saying to your friend is going to be a private conversation, and that isn't supposed to be out in the public space. But when you post something on social media, like, that is out for the public. So it doesn't matter what you felt or how you felt in that moment or what you wanted to convey. That's out there for other people to judge. But when you have a friendship with somebody, and I'm talking about like close friends, I'm not talking about like,
What about your significant other, Coca? Let's talk about Donald Sterling. Do you remember the Donald Sterling situation? He was having a conversation with his girlfriend. It was being recorded. And
Yeah, but
where he
once
used
again, it's just something you're doing in private. Like there is a huge difference between that, because that's somebody else's actions causing whatever you're saying in private to come out. It's not you directly going to the stream of, of the public uh, forum and talking like that.
So do you have Donald Sterling not being forced to sell? Going back to the Clippers, pre-Ballmer, funny that we're talking about the Clippers again. The fact that what started the whole train was Donald Sterling's private conversation being taped. Is it your opinion that the punishment of forcing him to sell was too strict?
No, I still think that you are not following what I'm saying, because if
Okay.
you were, then you wouldn't have said that.
Let me
Because
try again. Try
Because
again, Coca.
like the consequences to what he said in private coming out fit that. But
Okay.
we don't know how owners or business owners feel about groups of people. But when we do find out, there is a consequence to that. But what they're saying in private, I bet you there's business owners and corporation owners across the country who speak like that in private, but that stuff never gets out. And that's what I'm saying, is that stuff never gets out because nobody is putting it out there, because the conversation's in private. If they were to go to social media and tweet something out for the world to see, then you're like, you're doing it to yourself. But if somebody else is leaking these things, that's somebody else causing something in private to come out. So I hope you're following what I'm trying to say here, that they aren't two different things, but the consequences of those things are the same.
I gotcha.
Okay.
What else do you have for me? What else bothered you this week? Because you're on a bender. You're on a heater.
Yeah, I just want to
lighten. Busy week.
Well, I just want to lighten things up. I want to lighten things up.
Oh, you want to lighten things up? What do you got?
Yeah, because I feel like
you have a funny story. Did something good happen to you this week?
I feel like the start of the show was like a little too heavy, and it was a little too much, hostile back and forth for us. That this one should lighten things up. I saw this post on social media, which is public, that a Mariners fan hired a witch on Etsy to cast a spell so that the Mariners can turn their season around. And the Mariners,
I don't know what that means.
The Mariners are sick. Well, he hired a witch. He paid a witch.
Like a person?
Yeah, on Etsy. Yeah, a witch. Well, not a person, a witch.
Okay, what Etsy, is that the thing where you can buy like quilts and stuff?
Well, it's your own company. You could sell whatever you want on Etsy. It's like
including a person?
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, is it like a sex thing?
No, it's like eBay for artists.
Okay.
So like if you have some sort of business, you can put it up on Etsy. But this person
is a witch.
No. The person hired a witch.
Like an witch. Okay. What's the rate for a witch? Do we know?
Yeah, I think he paid like $16 for a spell. So I think
is it done like by mail? Or is it a Zoom that you get on the phone with the witch?
Yeah, I think this witch, she seems pretty powerful because of what happened. But
what happened?
They've won 6 games in a row.
Oh my God!
6 games in a row.
It's got to be the witch.
Since the witch, I mean, is there no coincidence there? I don't see anything. I just see that a spell was cast by a witch on the Mariners to turn their season around. They're 6-0 since the witch cast that spell, and now they are tied for first place in the AL West.
Okay, where did you read this?
On Twitter. I saw it. It was a Mariners fan. He was
what
super
would
excited.
happen if the Astros fan did the same witch? Would the witch do a spell for both the Astros and the Mariners? In which case, like, what about this weekend with the Yankees Red Sox? Are there Etsy witches for either side of that? Because then,
you need
by
a
definition, one of the witches is wrong.
Well, now you need a counter spell.
So is that what you do?
Yeah. So you have an initial spell, and now we need a counter spell. So if there are Astros fans who are listening, just know that you need a counter spell to counteract the witch's spell.
$16 someone charged to put a spell on. I always associated putting a spell on somebody as a bad thing, like a voodoo. When you put a pin in the voodoo doll. I always associated when you need a spell, it's not a good thing, is it? But I guess it is for the Mariners.
Yeah, well, they have like love spells, right? You can get like a love potion. You can get all these things. So
I've never gotten those. Do you get those?
Well, you saw Wicked, right? Isn't there a good witch and a bad witch in Wicked? So it's sort of just like, this switch might be for good.
Can we talk about the Astros and Mariners?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, we could take the witching out of it.
What's the deal here that we have a way to see that there'll be no difference in the division leaders at the end of September as the beginning of September? Houston was in the lead. Seattle's won 6 in a row. They are now tied with Houston. Texas has won 4 in a row. They're only 2 games back of Houston. Texas is playing your beloved Mets, which is just an absolute nightmare. And the Astros have a real problem because they're going to Atlanta, who stinks. The Mariners this weekend are hosting Anaheim, who stinks. But the Astros can't hit. And they have that new injury. One of their pitchers, Brown, I believe, has some elbow issues. You know what? The game's changed a bit. Players are being put on the injured list in September. And the reason why we never used to do that is there was no limit to what your roster was. Now the roster is limited in September to 28 guys. So that's why you're seeing players put on the injured list in September.
But this Seattle team is what everybody expected them to be, right?
After their great deadline?
Well, no, I'm saying prior to that. Prior to that, this was like everybody's darling team to be sort of like a dark horse to push for the World Series. But what everybody thought was the pitching, right? Everybody said, hey, it's this starting rotation of pitchers who are elite, who are going to be able to carry this team. And then you have a player like Cal Raleigh who comes out, he slugs 53 home runs, and you're like, hold on, there could be something to this. Julio Rodriguez, to me, he like burst onto the scene as when I'm pretty sure he won Rookie of the Year in the AL, and then he sort of
got paid.
Yeah, and then he sort of quieted down a little bit. But he's having like a really great season, just a quiet season because of what Cal is doing there. But they're a really, really, really good baseball team.
You haven't mentioned Naylor. You haven't mentioned Suarez.
Well, I was talking prior to their acquisitions. So the team prior to the acquisitions, they were supposed to be good because of pitching. And, now if the pitching turns it up, I think their bullpen in September has been, pretty elite too. This is who everybody thought they would be. But the Astros, eye at the deadline was like, hey, they made moves, they did things, they got Carlos Correa back. They're going to be great.
We talked about the Correa deal. Correa deal. He's not. People in Houston. Have you ever had like a friend or a girlfriend and you freeze them in time and you haven't seen them in years and then you reconnect, but in your mind they hadn't changed, and then when you see them you're like, oh, I guess we all got older. That's how Astros fans took in Carlos Correa when he appeared in their ballpark. They were like, my God, this is the guy. We won a World Series with him. Oh, God, he's older now. Yeah, he's not the same player by any stretch. And they've definitely had injuries. And listen, it's not like Naylor and Suarez have been lights out for the Mariners either. That's why this game is so crazy. You never know at the deadline. And we told our audience this. Do not judge the trade deadline at the trade deadline. It's way too early for all that winners and losers stuff that all of us do in the media. It's way better to wait to see what happens at the end of the season, and then even wait longer to see what happens with some of the people who you traded away at the deadline.
Yeah, well, that's what we talked about prior to the show. Was the Yankees and Mets bullpens, where when I say we, I mean everybody thought that these were going to be like the 2 most elite bullpens that have ever bullpenned in the history of bullpenning. And in September, they are 2 of the 3 worst bullpens in baseball by a wide margin.
What did you tell me, that the Yankees or the Mets have a 9 ERA in their bullpen this month?
The Yankees bullpen, yeah, it's over a 9.
That's just not good enough. I mean, I guess if Judge and Stanton. So here's the thing. If Judge and Stanton hit a home run in the same game, they're going to win, even with the stinky bullpen. I think that's the moral, is that the Yankees think they can club people to death. But in the playoffs, it's hard to get Judge and Stanton hit a home run at the same time. And we saw that in the Dodgers series. And I would say this, that it's a great example. If we could pull up clips, like if we had 10 or 12 more people like Pablo's staff, then right now we'd have a clip of the day of the deadline when people were losing their mind about Yankees and Mets bullpen acquisitions, where Brian Cashman said, "Oh, this is exactly what we wanted to do, fortify our bullpen." Well, no, you needed starters. But anyway, the Mets bringing in Helsley and the Submariner twin Rogers. And everyone was like, "Oh, Stevie Cohn, you're my man. If you can't do it, no one can." And we're only a month and 10 days later. And you realize it's hard to get it right.
If I ever see Helsley on the mound again, I will not watch another Mets game for the rest of the season. Like he
Don't
cannot.
Say that.
Wait,
are you saying that he's never going to? How about it in a non-leverage situation?
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if it's leverage or non-leverage. He comes into the game. And I would rather the Mets. I would rather this happen. I would rather when Ryan Helsley steps onto the mound that they just put 3 runs up on the board, simulate the rest of the inning, and then we just go to the other half of the inning. That's what I would rather happen than seeing Helsley get on the mound. It's the same thing with starting pitching. Starting pitching, just start. The Mets game should start down 4-0 in the 4th inning.
They were up 4-0 last night.
And what happened? They couldn't.
Blew it.
So it's just start the game in the 4th inning with the Mets down 4-0 and just start the game from there, because that's what's going to happen anyway. Like have you ever seen anything like this where these pitchers, but it's not one pitcher or 2 pitchers or 3 pitchers. It's every single pitcher on the Mets staff when they come into a game to start or in the middle of the game, they just give up runs. I tweeted the other day that the Mets pitching lab is Chernobyl, because that's what it is. It is just a nuclear meltdown.
Oh, it's
because
they call it
because they call it the pitching lab. Dude, the pitching lab is oh my God, I can't take it anymore. And then Mendoza comes out. Yeah, sorry guys, I am so fired up right now. This is the real sports. This is the real sports fan. Matthew
I'll be
Coca
right back.
Here.
Give me 5 minutes.
He's here right now. Carlos Mendoza wants to come out yesterday after that loss and say, "This is on me. I've got to turn the team around." Oh, do you? Do you? You make it seem like it just started. This didn't just start. It's not a week thing. This has been since June. They can't win baseball games. Yes, it's on you, but it's also on them. They're throwing pitches. I just do not get it. I do not get it. God. All right.
Take a sip. You all right? Now, do you think that you are in a worse position than Scott, our other resident Met fan from CBS, or do you think he's in a worse position than you are in terms of your feelings about the Mets compared to, how about our friend Nick Turturro and his view of the Yankees? Like the 3 of you together, where are you right now? Rank you in terms of despondency.
I would say Scott is the worst because he actually believes. I don't believe. I do not believe. I do not believe in this team. I can't.
You haven't believed all year in the team? The whole year?
I saw it coming from a mile away. I knew that some of these starting pitchers would turn back into pumpkins because they just weren't good enough to go a full season. But I did not think that when Senga came back or that Minaya when he came back, that none of them would be able to get an out. They can't get an out without giving up a run. And then now we have 3 rookie pitchers in the starting rotation.
I thought you were happy with them, that they're so good.
But I'm just saying, you should not need 3 rookie pitchers in a starting rotation on a team that's almost worth $400 million this year. You should not need this. So like Nick Turturro, like I think a lot of what he does is just entertainment based, right? He's like making videos for people to do. Me, it creeps up. Like I'm part of that fandom that like it creeps up, and then finally you're just like, you know what? I need to explode. And we've all had these moments before. Yeah, that moment right there, that was dark. I will admit that it was dark. And I apologize.
I just don't want you to have it on one player, Coca, because I don't want you to ruin a possible October run because you're so principled and you just said if Helsley pitches again, you'll never watch another game. He's going to pitch again. And so that means you're consigning yourself and resigning yourself to not watching any more Mets games. And what if they have another run to the World Series?
Yeah, I had actually said like an hour ago in chat that I wouldn't watch another Mets game this year if we lose to Patrick Corbin unless they make the World Series. But there's nothing to even worry about making the World Series because they're not going to make the playoffs.
Wait, are you calling it right now that the Mets are going to get caught by the Reds or Giants? By which one? Reds or Giants?
Doesn't even matter at that point. It could be both of them. We'll finish 4 games out. I mean, history says that we are going to have a 1-game lead going into the last weekend of the season, and then the Marlins are going to sweep us. That's what history tells us.
Do I love that.
When you were in baseball, like at what point in September are you like, we need to turn it on now? This is when we get hot. And if we get hot here, like we're going to have a run. Like you can feel that a run is coming at what date in September are you at that point? Because the Diamondbacks did it a few years ago where they made it all the way to the World Series when they got hot in September.
Oh, the Colorado Rockies. Go back and look what Matt Holliday, who's now a father of major leaguers. Matt Holliday was on a Rockies team that was, and people can't believe it because they're going to lose $120 this year, where the Rockies got so hot in September and made it all the way to the playoffs. They won like 18 out of 20 games to end the season and ended up making the playoffs. And Matt Holliday ended up winning the wild card game. That's back when it was a 1-game playoff. And I believe that Matt Holliday landed on home plate with the winning run on his chin and cut open his chin. I have no idea why that's in my head, and it may be totally wrong, which is why being a witness can be difficult. But when you are in a race, and we were in the race out of 18 seasons, I would say half the years we were in the race in September, you're looking at post-Labor Day, as late as September 8th, as early as September 2nd, post-Labor Day, that's when you got to start. And if you're not hot by the middle of September, you're hanging on by a straw, like one little string saying, all right, now we've got 15 games left. We need to go 10-5, 12-3. And then you lose 1 or 2. You're like, oh, we got to go 14-0. And then you watch it slip away because the baseball season is like sand in an hourglass. It runs out. And for a sport that has no clock, the clock in our mind as executives always was set to 162. And that clock runs out. And right now, that clock is running out on a bunch of teams. I don't think the Mets are one of them. I really don't think that you should give up on them. But my God, you've got all of the evidence to say that you should. But if you took the emotion out of it, the Reds and Giants are both flawed. In theory, the Mets have a lineup and a bullpen, believe it or not, that should be better than Reds and Giants. That said, you got to play the games. And man, the Mets are coming off this sweep of the Phillies that hurts them. What are the who's favored tonight in DeGrom, Texas against the Mets and Tong? Is it DeGrom favored by a lot? What do our friends at DraftKings say?
The Mets are favored. It's you can get the Mets at -113 or the Rangers at -109 with DeGrom returning back to Citi Field.
So to analyze that makes the Mets a teensy-tiny favorite to win the game.
As slight of a favorite as you can almost possibly get.
So interesting. I mean, Tong what is this going to be, his third start of his career? Is that it? And DeGrom, who has been, he and Eovaldi were supposed to combine to be quite a 1-2 punch, and Eovaldi's hurt. And now DeGrom, I guess you're matching him with who? With Corbin? I'm trying to think of who replaced Eovaldi in the rotation.
Well, didn't they pick up your guy? Did they pick up Kelly, or was that the Diamondback? Who picked up?
The Rangers have Kelly now, so yeah. I guess Kelly is now in the 2-hole behind DeGrom. Is that how they do it? That'll be disappointing if the Mets. You know what? I need the Mets to. It doesn't matter what they do tonight. We need them to beat Corbin. That's what we need. That's it.
Yeah. Speaking of picks, you wanted me to make weekend picks. So last week we got the Travis Kelce anytime touchdown scorer right. We did get that. So this
Hold
weekend,
on, Matt. Before you start, Matt, excuse me, I'm getting interrupting. Do you have anything that accompanies this? Do we have like any sort of music or any sort of graphic? Because are we making this a weekly thing where you're going to give picks now every Friday?
I believe so.
Can't we call what are we calling it? We got to do something. We got to call up somebody. Can we call up our friend Patrick, who helped and did the new logo and all the intros and outros? Can we have Patrick do some sort of thing for Coca's pick of the week? CPOW.
We'll work on that. I don't believe he's in the country right now, but when he gets back, I'm sure that'll be we'll get that to be his number one priority.
K-pop. All right, what are your weekend picks?
The first pick we're going to take is going to be Saturday. We're going into college football. Lincoln Riley, USC. Jaden Mayava is their quarterback. They look really, really good this year, but they really haven't played anybody. We don't care about that. We care about points. They're taking on Purdue. The total is 59.5 right now. We are going over. Purdue hasn't played anybody either, but they have scored points as well. I think they've scored over 30 points in each game. So I like the over there. I think they're just going to keep putting up points. And it's a Lincoln Riley team. The defense is always so shoddy because the offense just plays at this high pace all the time. We're looking for points. We're rooting for points. We're taking the over in that game.
Isn't it week 2? Or are we
No.
up to week 3 already?
Right. They're always 1 week ahead of the NFL.
I never knew that. What a great way to remember. Is that every year that college football is 1 week ahead of the NFL?
Yeah.
Unreal. So week 3. All right, we're taking the over of USC Purdue.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And then we have a surprising pick for Sunday. We are going to take a team that you spoke about in the first half of the show. We are going to take the Dolphins at home minus 2.5 against the Patriots. I think that the Dolphins are too talented of a team. I think Tua is talented at quarterback. I think Tyreek Hill is going to step up this week. Devin A-Chain, he's a really, really good running back. Last week was just a very bad week. I think Mike McDaniel has them ready to play. They're playing a divisional opponent at home. I still don't trust Drake May and what the Patriots have going on there. So I like the Dolphins at home. You're giving 2.5 points. I think they're going to win this game by more than a field goal.
So what happens if they don't? Do you agree with the first hour of the show that players only meeting was a little early, and that if the Dolphins lose to the Patriots at home, do you think that Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, will finally do something that he loathes doing, and that is in-season changes?
It depends on what they look like in this game, right? Like if it's a game
33-8.
Yeah, if they lose like that again, I don't know how Mike McDaniel could be there for another week. I understand that it's that early in the season, but if a team looks that bad to the point where you're having a players only meeting after week 1, you get blown out by two teams that aren't expected to make it to the playoffs. Right, the Colts can go on a run, but everybody was like, "Oh, Daniel Jones is the quarterback. They're not going to be a good football team." And they come out and they blow you out. And then you have Drake May. That team, the Patriots didn't look great in week 1 either. And that team, is supposed to finish second or third in that division. You wanted to be the team that finishes second behind the Bills because the Bills are just too good. And you get blown out. Like that is a tough position for them to be in. Like it's just rip the Band-Aid off early. Maybe you get the new coach bump and you can win a couple of games. Maybe it sets you up for a better draft pick and you're already looking at, the 2026 draft, thinking to yourself, hey, we can tank for somebody else. But
didn't they just tank for Tua?
Yeah, but I think it was tanking. We had discussed this actually last week, where it was tanking for Tua until Tua blew out his hip. When he got that hip injury at Alabama, that's when tanking for Tua sort of stopped, because you were like, oh no, is Tua ever going to be the same player that he was? Now it's his head, right? Now you're just scared anytime he gets sacked that he's like a concussion away from never playing football again. So that's a scary place to be in. But I'm going to take the players meeting bump. I am going to take that they are playing against the Patriots. It's a divisional foe. They've got him at home. Hopefully it's going to be a hot game, and maybe the Patriots aren't ready for that Miami hot. I like them. I like them in this game. So those are the
All
two
right.
picks.
So
We have
those are your two
USC
picks.
Purdue over 59.5, Miami minus 2.5 against the Patriots. Lines and odds subject to change.
Can we work on that for next week? Some sort of something. We've got 1 week to put it together. Some sort of thing that would indicate that these are your picks. Oh, side note, are you going to keep track of your picks the way we do of the Nothing Personal Picks of the Day? Will you revisit each week your last week's picks?
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not?
I think, well, because a lot of people on TV don't do it. A lot of people in podcasts, they just make picks and they never talk about it again.
Yeah, well, my bank account is, I'll post pictures of the statements of the winning and losing slips so that people know that I am actually betting on these things that I am picking because, I want to win.
Can you imagine if you got paid to come one leg away in a parlay? Imagine if you could somehow if you could find a way to monetize that skill that you have, you would be rich, Coca.
I know what you're getting at. I know what you're doing here. I know what this is, guys. So DraftKings has this new promotion this year. It's called the Ghost Parlay. And the Ghost Parlay essentially is you can, a minimum of 3 legs in a parlay. If you get one leg wrong, they'll pay out the 2 legs together. So all you have to do is
meatloaf.
Yeah, you just got to get 1
2 out of 3.
You either got to win it all or you lose by 1 leg. Now I'm essentially a 1-leg Larry where I put parlays together, 4 legs, 5 legs, 6 legs, 7 legs. Let's have some fun, people. And I lose by 1 leg. So week 1, I have like 5 different parlays in. I'm ready. I need a Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown, a David Montgomery touchdown, a Kenneth Walker touchdown. Like I'm living in this beautiful world of like, I'm doing it, baby. Like these are running backs that are going to score touchdowns. And then you see Kenneth Walker doesn't score. Oh boy. David Montgomery doesn't score. Oh boy. There's no way the Lions can go an entire football game without scoring a touchdown. Boom. Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't score. And I look at my slips and I say, I have to have one that the Ghost Parlay worked on. And I look at that one parlay, the Ghost Parlay. It was the only one of the 4 parlays that didn't lose by 1 leg. It lost by 2 legs. That's gambling for you. Right? That's just how it works.
And the best part is that you do it responsibly and that you're going to do it again this week, because why would you give up? Because the fact of the matter is that you have an opportunity to watch games and you never know. And this is not even a commercial for DraftKings. This is just conversations that you and I have, Coca, about what it is to come one away. And we would talk about this in the clubhouse, believe it or not, because we had survivor pools in our clubhouse. I've told you the story that the biggest fight I ever had with Jose Fernandez was over our survivor pool. He did not understand the concept of taking both sides of one game by buying 2 slips and taking both sides, guaranteeing you're surviving for another week. We had a huge fight and Kangaroo Court ruled in my favor. Totally allowed.
And I just want to say, people who are losing bets, stop blaming the players. Stop tweeting at players. Stop DMing players these nasty things. We have to be better. Be a better gambler. Be a better gambler. You picked the wrong guy. Let's stop with these hateful messages to people. Because that to me is like the ridiculous thing that could ruin it, for everybody. Is just all these hateful comments that players are getting. It's unfortunate for them. Let's be better people.
So don't DM, don't tweet, just throw water bottles.
You could DM me. You could DM me. If the Matthew Coca picks don't work out for you, you could DM me. That pause right there was for us to figure out a name
for like a sponsor. The Matthew Coca DraftKings pick of the week. It's been a good week. We had a lot of people watching the show for the first time this week. I think we set a record, Coca. So thank you for all the people who have tuned in. This is what Coca and I do every Friday, and it's outstanding. You have yourself a good weekend, all right, Coca?
Yeah, and you said a lot of people are tuning in. This segment could be the one where they're tuning out, which I hope not. But
don't be that insecure. People love you, Coca. See ya. That was Matthew Coca, our producer. Every Friday, second hour, you're going to hear him. Why? It's just business. We'll be back live Monday, 7 a.m. Shop. This is nothing personal.